The night the billionaire forgot $1,000 on a small diner table began like any other ordinary evening, yet it carried the quiet weight of a moment that would change two lives forever. The air inside the modest roadside cafe in Ohio felt heavy with exhaustion and unspoken dreams, and under the soft hum of flickering lights, fate waited patiently. Sometimes, the greatest turning points arrive without noise, without warning, and without mercy, testing the true character of the human heart when no one is watching. If you believe that kindness still matters in a world that often feels cold, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel for more stories about second chances and unseen goodness. Sarah Whitman had been on her feet since dawn. At 26, her life felt far older than her age. She lived in a cramped apartment on the edge of town with peeling paint and a heater that worked only when it wanted to. Her father, Michael Whitman, had once been a proud factory worker, but illness had slowly taken that strength away, leaving medical bills stacked higher than her dreams. Every dollar Sarah earned as a waitress went toward rent, medication, and keeping the lights on. She wore her tiredness quietly, the way people do when they know no one is coming to save them. That evening, the diner was unusually quiet when a man named Jonathan Reeves walked in. He did not look like the world-famous billionaire he was. Dressed in a simple coat and worn shoes, he carried the invisible weight of success and loneliness. Jonathan had built an empire from nothing, yet the higher he climbed, the more distant everything felt. His days were filled with meetings and numbers, but his nights were empty, echoing with the realization that wealth could not buy meaning. He chose small places like this diner on purpose, searching for something real in a life polished by power. Sarah served him without recognizing his name or face. To her, he was just another tired customer needing food and quiet. She moved carefully, conserving energy, her mind drifting between tables and worries. Jonathan ate in silence, lost in thought, his mind occupied with a recent business deal that had cost him friendships and sleep. When he finished, he stood, left cash on the table without counting it, and walked out into the cold night, already consumed by the next problem waiting for him. When Sarah returned to clear the table, her breath caught. Lying there, folded neatly beside the empty plate, was $1,000 in crisp bills. For a moment, the noise of the world faded. Her heart pounded as her mind raced through impossible thoughts. That money could change everything, at least for a while. It could cover rent, pay overdue hospital bills, and bring her father some relief. No one had seen it. No one would know. The universe itself seemed to pause, watching her choice form. Sarah closed her eyes, gripping the edge of the table. She thought of her mother, who had taught her that integrity was what remained when everything else was taken away. She thought of the countless prayers whispered in the dark, asking not for riches but for strength. Her hands trembled as she folded the money and held it close, not in possession, but in responsibility. Instead of pocketing it, she went to the counter, explaining what she had found, insisting it be kept safe. Yet something inside her said this was not enough. She felt she had to return it herself. After her shift ended, Sarah stepped back into the cold, scanning the empty parking lot. The diner manager helped track the license plate, and with effort and faith, they found Jonathan at a nearby motel. When Sarah knocked on the door, exhaustion sat heavy in her bones, but resolve carried her forward. She held out the envelope, her voice steady, her heart racing, explaining that he had forgotten something important. Jonathan stared at the money, confusion melting into disbelief. In his world, trust had become rare, often replaced by contracts and conditions. He looked at Sarah, noticing her worn coat, her tired eyes, and the quiet dignity in her posture. Something inside him shifted, something long forgotten. He realized that this woman, who had every reason to keep the money, had chosen honesty over survival. The silence between them grew thick with emotion as the weight of her choice settled into his chest. Jonathan tried to process what he felt. He had spent years surrounded by people who took without hesitation, yet here stood someone who gave without being asked. He insisted she take a reward, but Sarah refused, explaining that it was never hers to begin with. Her words were simple, but they carried a power that no business deal ever had. Jonathan watched her walk away, her figure disappearing into the dark, leaving him standing still, frozen by a truth he could not ignore. That night, Jonathan did not sleep. The image of Sarah replayed in his mind, her honesty cutting through his carefully built walls. He realized how far he had drifted from the values that once drove him. The next morning, he returned to the diner, waiting quietly until Sarah arrived. When she saw him, confusion flickered across her face, quickly replaced by concern, wondering if something was wrong. Jonathan explained that her action had reminded him of who he used to be and who he wanted to become again. He asked about her life, and for the first time in years, he listened without distraction. He learned about her father, her struggles, and the way she carried hope even when it hurt. This time, when he offered help, it was not charity disguised as pride, but gratitude rooted in respect. Sarah hesitated, her humility fighting her need, but Jonathan made it clear that accepting kindness did not diminish integrity. Within weeks, Sarah's life began to change. Jonathan quietly paid her father's medical expenses and helped secure better care. He arranged for Sarah to return to school, covering tuition so she could pursue the nursing career she had once abandoned. He did all of this without publicity, without credit, because he had learned that true generosity thrived in silence. Sarah continued working at the diner for a while, not because she had to, but because she wanted to finish what she started with dignity. As time passed, Jonathan found himself visiting the diner not as an escape, but as a reminder. He restructured his company, focusing on ethical practices and employee well-being. He funded programs supporting workers like Sarah, people whose honesty often went unseen. The billionaire who once felt empty now carried purpose, all because one waitress chose to do the right thing when no one was watching. Years later, Sarah stood in a hospital hallway wearing scrubs, saving lives with the same compassion she had shown that night. Her father watched her with pride, his health restored enough to smile freely again. Jonathan attended the hospital's charity opening quietly, standing in the background, knowing that the greatest returns in life were not measured in money, but in moments of humanity. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that small choices can create powerful ripples, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel so these stories can reach more hearts. Before the ending, we have one special request for you. Please comment below and tell us what you would have done if you were in Sarah's place. Your words might inspire someone who is struggling right now. As the lights dimmed on that ordinary diner in Ohio, one forgotten envelope became a bridge between two broken worlds. A billionaire learned humility, a waitress found her future, and kindness proved that it still holds the power to freeze time, change hearts, and rewrite destinies when chosen without expectation.